Hello, everyone. I think we should get started soon. I'd like to welcome everybody and thank you for joining us today to acknowledge the passing of Helen Barnett and to celebrate her and her life. I think I know everybody here, but in case not, I'm Helen's husband, Francis. With us today, and I'm sorry, I'm going to be reading everything, and I hope we don't have to pass out matchsticks for people's eyes. Please bear with me, or if my voice breaks. With us today are all of Helen's immediate family, and I would like to point out, where is Ian gone? There is Ian, Ailey, Paula, the kids, and then the grandkids, Elizabeth, wave your hand please, Elizabeth, Jake, Ben, and William. Also joining us today from Edmonton are Graham's father, Paula's husband Graham, who is there, and Graham's father Morris, and Graham's brother Barry and his wife Teresa. They have come in from Edmonton, which is wonderful. Joining us also from Surrey are longtime friends John and Leslie Huque. And where did I just see them? There they are at the far back. And thanks to all the people who've traveled to be with us today. I also want to acknowledge, to acknowledge those attending through the live stream, so we're being broadcast live to TV Land, and thank them for joining us today. I would also like to thank those who have sent expressions of sympathy as well as memories of Helen. I'm going to be presenting a tribute. Hopefully it won't be too boring. And following, there will be two short readings by family and friend. After that, there will be a presentation of pictures and music, and refreshments will be available at the same time. A couple of housekeeping notes, three actually. Down there where there's a post on the left where the fold in the wall is, there's a thing that sticks out, so if you're going that way, watch out for the foot that comes out. It's a trip hazard. The washrooms are out to the right and the right again, and I remembered to put my phone on silent so it won't interrupt us. And now to the tribute. Helen was a remarkable but unassuming person who brought much light, joy, care, friendship, and love to her world, and who left us contentedly, having lived a good and happy life. Before I go on, is it loud enough for everybody in the hall? Great. Helen was born in Edinburgh on the first day of spring in 1939, just before the start of World War II. And just to be clear, there are people here who would allege that it was World War I. It was in fact World War II. To Robert Brown and Helen Brown, who was usually known as Ailey. She had two elder brothers, Douglas, who I'm going to refer to as Brother Douglas for clarity, and Jim, and a younger sister, Freya. She had many fond memories from her childhood, and she asked that I share some of these with you. The family lived in an apartment in a building housing the bank where her father worked as a messenger. Their flat had a view of Edinburgh Castle, and also access to a rooftop nearly 100 feet above a busy street. There was no such thing as health and safety regulation in those days, just common sense, of which Helen had much. After she found Freya and her friends using the rooftop as a regular haunt, the area suddenly became off limits. She remembered VE Day, Victory in Europe, and paper parachutes descending from Edinburgh Castle, and the castle being lit for the first time since the start of the war. She also remembered wartime and post-war rationing, which didn't end until 1954. Helen's mother died when she was 10, which was a dramatic event in the lives of Helen and her family. She took on several of the household duties, which helped her father keep the family together, as did the involvement of other family members. This is where some of Helen's leadership qualities began to show themselves. Family was very important to her, and that continued throughout her life. Her education was at London Street School, Broughton Secondary, and Dean College Pre-Nursing School, where, at the end of the term, she won the Margaret Elizabeth Scott Prize for Best All-Round Student in 1956-57. She was then accepted as a nursing student at Edinburgh Royal Infirmary. She did 2.5 years of the 3-year term there. However, times were different then, not for the better, I might add, as in her words, she was flung out because she was pregnant and getting married, both of which were prohibited for student nurses in those days. Helen had aunts and uncles and cousins in Edinburgh and other parts of Scotland. Many of them were regularly part of her and her siblings' lives. Among them were Auntie May and Uncle Bobby Kidd, who lived in a place called Benderloch on the western coast of Scotland near Oban. Uncle Bobby was the local station master for the railway, and they lived in the station house. And I'm just going to pause to say, in the memorabilia table over there, stuck on the wall, I think it's still stuck, there's a picture of a train, but it's actually a picture of Benderloch Station. And if you look behind the train and you see a white building behind, that is the station house where they lived. Helen and Freya spent several summers there developing relationships with their cousins Marion, Margaret, Sheila, and Robin. Other families included the Starkeys, the Guns, and various families, not surprisingly named Brown. These relationships endured throughout their mutual lives. She was a keen Girl Guide and enjoyed many camping trips. She went with a group from Dean College to Switzerland in 1956 and had an amazing experience as a 17-year-old, hiking and backpacking and staying in hostels. She also played FP hockey, FP being former pupils, or what we would call alumni, and grass hockey is what we would call hockey over here. I'm going to talk about her first husband, Douglas, and their life together. She met her first husband, Douglas, while she was at Dean College and he was at Art College. They went to Spain together in 1958, which was in Generalissimo Franco days, and Helen was surprised to see the Guardia Civil with machine guns down their back and to learn that women were not allowed to wear bikinis. Helen and Douglas were married in 1958 and had Ian, Ailey, and Paula in Scotland, all born at home. In 1965, something life-changing occurred. Helen was asked by a friend to look in on and help an American couple who were in Edinburgh on teacher exchange. That couple were Barbara and Dana Wall, originally from Sioux City, Iowa. This led to meeting a Canadian couple, likewise on teacher exchange, Marion and Jim Waldy, originally from Burnaby and then Gibsons. The three couples became firm friends. In Easter 1966, the Waldys and Helen and Douglas and families went on a camping trip to the Isle of Skye, the start of many joint expeditions with these new friends. As mentioned, Helen and her siblings and extended relations were close, especially Freya. However, all siblings moved away from Britain for many years. Brother Douglas joined the Royal Air Force and worked as a nurse and then a tutor, and he went to Singapore with his first wife, Jeanne. Jim joined the Merchant Navy as a radio operator and then went on to work for Marconi and spent many years in Japan as well as some time in Hong Kong. He married a Japanese woman named Yoko. In 1964, Freya went to Egypt and then to the Sudan, and she married a Sudanese man, Hamza. She had two children, Farida and Amin. All siblings kept in touch by what was then the only practical means, letter writing, particularly so in the case of Freya and Helen. The collection of letters they developed detailing their lives is amazing, and Helen took her part of the collection back to Scotland on our last trip there for Freya's daughter, Farida. Later on, staying in touch became easier as each of the other siblings moved back to Britain, and visiting and phone calls became more practical. Back in England, after Jeanne died, Brother Douglas married Barbara, who is still a vital part of the Brown clan. If Helen and I were going to Britain, she would often go ahead of me and have time with Freya and with family and friends, including Freya's hill walking friends, who became friends of Helen's too. Several times she went over alone to see Freya. They spoke on the phone twice a week. When we were in Canada, when we were out of Canada in the USA, we would have to buy international phone cards to continue the scheduled calls. Helen also kept in contact with her family and cousins on both sides and usually arranged gatherings when we were in Scotland, which most often included Barbara and cousins Alec and Irene and Marion and Charlie as well as whoever else was around and could be brought to Edinburgh. By 1966, Helen's father had died, her siblings had all left Britain, and Douglas's parents were dead. She and Douglas looked at emigrating to Canada, something to do with having met the Waldies and the Walls. Douglas looked for jobs in BC, and the only place that would give him a position as a full-time art specialist teacher was Kamloops. So from Edinburgh to our tiny little dot on the world atlas, Douglas came. They then arranged to sell their house and for Helen and the children to come out. This was quite an expedition at the time, especially with 3 children, all under the age of 7, with several flights and clearing customs and immigration. Helen always remembered that Ian came back from his new school one day here and blurted out in his best accent, "Mommy, I can speak better Canadian than you." Sorry, Ian. Helen left behind friends in Scotland and kept in contact with many of them, often through lengthy Christmas cards, including Kate Charleston, Sheila Graham, Josephine Barrett, and Meg Dawson. After becoming settled in Canada, Helen started to get involved in civic life and volunteering, which many of you here will probably be a little bit familiar with. Her first project was starting a family planning clinic in Kamloops under the umbrella of the BC Family Planning Clinic, and it was held in the public health unit. She set this up because it was illegal at the time for public health nurses to give out family planning information. She went to the school board to get their blessing and to spread the word, and she roped in several other women to help with the presentations. After she had started the clinic, the BC government changed the rules to allow public health nurses to give out this information, so Helen disbanded the group. From 1968 to 62, she was a parent volunteer as a librarian aide, and she again volunteered at Stewart Wood Elementary Library starting in 1997 for several years. In 1969, she was an executive of the Canadian Club in Kamloops. In 1970, she was a volunteer tennis instructor at the Kamloops Y. From 1972 to 1974, she was an executive member of the Kamloops Tennis Club. In 1972, she was first elected to Kamloops School Board, which in those days was School District 24, and she was re-elected again in 74 and 76. She served as chairman in 76 and 77. She was appointed by the school board to the South Central Board of Health in 1974 and was appointed chairman, and in 1975 was appointed to the Associated Boards of Health of BC and was again appointed chairman. From 1976 to 78, she was elected to the BC School Trustees Association and served both as executive member and chairman. While on the school board from 1972 to 78, some of the board accomplishments of which she was most proud were the creation of 4 joint use projects: the South Kamloops Pool, which is the pool at the Y, the West Side Pool, Sagebrush Theatre, and the sharing of use and responsibilities for school grounds with the city of Kamloops. In 1979, she was appointed by Madame Jean Sauvé to a Canada-wide committee of 12 set up to monitor sex role stereotyping in the electronic media. Unfortunately, after one meeting, an election resulted in a change of government, and the new government terminated the committee, and rudely did not even inform the members of the committee before the public announcement. In 1980 and again in 1984, Helen ran for the local federal Liberal nomination, though was not successful. However, over many years she was active in the local Liberal Association as a member and a director, and was a provincial vice president from 1980 to 82. She co-managed one election campaign and was the candidate's assistant for the candidate who is present in this room today in 1997. And I'd pause to mention the 1980 campaign. The banner is over top of the memorabilia. Helen belongs in the House of Commons, and that is an artifact from that campaign. Also in 1980, Helen ran for city council and was elected as an alderman, as city councillors were called in those days, and was re-elected in 1992. As an alderman, she served on the Royal Inland Hospital Board, the Regional Municipal Labour Relations Association, and the city's Parks, Recreation and Culture Commission. She was appointed to the National Via Rail Task Force in 1983 and 1984, and we have to remember that the government was shutting down Via. but that committee successfully lobbied the federal government to keep the VIA line running across the country, and it through Kamloops and Jasper. And she was also part of Council's success in expanding Riverside Park to its present boundaries. After Council and continuing her interest in education, she served on the working group on parents' role, rights, and responsibilities for the BC Royal Commission on Education, which was known as the Sullivan Commission, which reported in 1988. In 1988, she ran again for school board and topped the polls and was re-elected again in 1990. She was once again elected chairman. In 1991, she was appointed to the board of the Kamloops 1993 Canada Summer Games Society. After retiring from the school board, the City of Kamloops tapped her in 1995 to be the chairman of the board of the 1996 Games for Athletes with a Disability. But she wasn't finished yet. She served on other boards, including the Kamloops Museum Association and the Kamloops Symphony Orchestra and the Kamloops Symphony Foundation. In the case of the Kamloops Symphony Foundation, she presided over shutting it down and transferring its assets to the KSO to enable access to some major matching grants. And then she presided over its resurrection from the dead in order for the revived body to receive yet another major gift. However, perhaps, just perhaps, her favorite community job was being appointed to the BC Interior Community Foundation's Granting Committee, whose mission it was to review applications and hand out money. In 1978, Helen was chosen Woman of the Year by the Kamloops Business and Professional Women's Club. In 1992, she was awarded the Canada 125 Medal, which is on display in the memorabilia table. In 1996, she was recognized by the City of Kamloops for her work as chairman of the board of the 1996 BC Games for Athletes with a Disability. Switching over to family and friends here. Helen and I married in 1994, although we had lived together since 1982. Roberta Kjelston and Dave Gillespie, who are both here today, stood up for us. When Helen and I got together, she acquired my family, including my mother, my brothers Jeff and Terry, their wives Pam and Debbie and their kids, and my cousins and aunts and uncles in England and Germany. The grandchildren, Elizabeth, Jacob, Ben, and William, were all born here, and all but Elizabeth are living in town, Elizabeth being only as far away as West Kelowna. As you may have already understood, friends were really important to Helen. The Cares and the Waldies and the Walls always kept in contact and visited each other every so often. Among the treasured visits were a Care family camping trip to Iowa, and in later years, gatherings in Kamloops, Nebraska, Gibsons, Maui, and Arizona. I have to mention here that Jim Waldie always reminds me that I have him and Marion to thank for meeting Helen. But for them and Helen meeting in Scotland 60-odd years ago, I would likely never have met Helen, so I give my thanks. Another family camping trip was with Mary and Russ Chambers, Russ is here today, to Bella Coola and the frightening road to get there. Helen made many friends in Kamloops, including the tennis ladies, Audrey, Claire, who's here, Clara, and Norma. I didn't see Audrey, she may be here. And she made many friends in the political sphere, including Kenna Cartwright, Roberta, Pat Cates, and Di McLeod. I have to make special mention of Roberta and Pat, who were very close to her for many years, and particularly in the last weeks of her life. There were the Pine Crescent neighborhood friends, Mary and Russ Chambers, and Art and June Hooper, and there was the Walkie-Talkie walking group and hiking group, which is well represented here today. My friends became her friends too, and vice versa. These include the Lehukes, the Turners, and the Baileys from my Victoria days, as well as many, many friends made here. As you know, travel was a major part of Helen's life, especially traveling with or to see family. I have to again mention Sister Freya. Helen went to see her twice in Sudan. What an adventure. The first time, the travel agent said Helen didn't need a visa, when in fact she did. And it was only some effective and presumably rather fast talking by Freya's husband Hamza that got her released from immigration detainment in Khartoum. The second time was after Hamza died, when Helen went out to support Freya. Helen saw so much there, although what she saw is probably no longer recognizable due to their abhorrent war. Freya came to Canada many times. Almost all the visits included a trip to Jasper, where Freya turned out to be our bear magnet. She didn't like bears, but they liked her. After Freya moved back to Scotland in 1988, Helen and I visited her there regularly. Freya joined us on expeditions in Scotland, including to Orkney, and on a Rhone River cruise. Freya's daughter Farida went to medical school in the small town of Pécs in southern Hungary, and we went there for her convocation in 1992 and met up with Freya and Jim there. Another even tinier dot on the world atlas. It was a wonderful experience and an opportunity also for Helen and I to meet my German relatives. Farida and her son Hamza joined Freya in coming out to Canada for daughter Ailey's master's convocation in 2008, and Amin came out with Freya in 2013 for granddaughter Elizabeth's wedding. Brother Jim came out here twice, and over the winter of 80-81, he had Helen fly out to visit him in Japan, another big adventure. And for Farida's convocation in Hungary, we agreed to pick him up at Budapest airport. In those days, Hungary was not ready to welcome tourists. So no road signs indicating where the airport was, no GPS in those days, and we only had a large-scale map of Hungary, which showed Budapest, but nothing else. After trying to ask at least 3 times for directions, we finally did find the airport and pick him up, although 2 hours late. We then drove down to Pécs, and somehow the speed limit drop from 120 to 80 escaped my attention. We got there rather sooner than expected, and Helen spotted Freya walking way ahead of us and used the family whistle to get Freya's very surprised attention. I have to mention here my cousins, Kate and Mark. Many of you will have heard of them. Helen met them on our first trip together to Britain in 1981, and we have spent so much time together and traveling together over the years. They started coming out to us with their daughter Daisy in the winter of 1991, and then quite frequently after that. We started traveling together in small ways, but then we expanded into many bigger joint adventures, whether just the 4 of us or with others. Some of the outstanding trips were Russia, South Africa for a cousin's wedding, Alaska, the Loire, Spain, Berlin in combination with my cousins Sabina and Hilmar, and New Zealand. While in New Zealand, we spent time with Helen's cousins Robin and Jenny and their family, and we also met up with other friends there. You've heard me mention Jasper. As many will know, it was a major go-to place for us. We started visiting in 1982 when daughter Paula got work there, and we never stopped. We've been there with many others as well, including my brothers, friends John and Les, Ian, together with Freya's son Amin, Roberta and her husband John, Jim Waldy, friends Jim and Deb Holland, Mark and Kate, cousins Pete and Hillary, and son William and Robin and Jenny, and our own Kamloops family several times. We even spent Christmas there once. Another adventurous trip Helen took was going to New York shortly after 9/11 with Pat Cates. Friends John and Les Lahuke are here today, as I mentioned. Apart from lots of visits back and forth, I have to mention the celebrated sailing adventure, which included Helen juggling plums in the galley due to rough seas, the notorious and infamous breakdown of the vessel at Yakalta Rapids, Helen being rudely awakened by the inflow of water in her forward berth as she was sleeping as we started to sink, and being marooned in the strait like a tramp ship with wet clothing and bedding draped over the rigging while as the towboat operator dropped us and went to refuel. That trip made for a prize-winning story, better for telling after the fact. Sorry, I'm getting croaky here. In 1994, Helen was persuaded, reluctantly she would admit, to visit Rex and Renee's condo in Kona on the Big Island of Hawaii, and we never looked back. The opportunity came up in 2008 to buy that unit, and we took it. Winters were there were a treat, especially when I retired and we could go there for up to 3 months. Helen just enjoyed being there, the warmth, swimming, walking in the community garden, eating on the lanai or deck of our unit, reading or listening to the sea. In the latter years, Helen took up singing with the Thursday morning ukulele group thanks to friend Joyce, and she thoroughly enjoyed that. We made many great friends there, including Joyce, and Fred and Sue, Joe and Cynthia, Denny and Janae, George and Marianne. And we enjoyed the company of Ailey 3 times, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and plus all kinds of Canadian friends who either had places there or were visiting the Big Island. A regular activity for some time was to spend the BC Day long weekend with the Gillespie clan and assorted hangers-on at Gillespie Bay at Englemont. This was a weekend of fun and a small amount of wine. It began with one of Helen's specialty activities, reciting limericks. The first weekend, as it turned out, was so much fun, it became a tradition for quite some years. Helen enjoyed a number of other activities, interests, and hobbies. Among these was tennis, both playing and avidly watching Wimbledon. Reading, she was a voracious reader, and several times she went over early to Edinburgh to take in the Edinburgh Book Festival. She was a keen supporter of local culture, especially Western Canada Theatre, the Kamloops Symphony Orchestra, and the Kamloops Museum Association. She obviously enjoyed walking and hiking, and Jasper was clearly a part of this. But the walkie-talkie walking group in Kamloops was an important part of her life in latter years. Around here, she did the Trophy Mountain several times, but the toughest local hike was probably Raft Peak, which we did with Roberta and John. When she told Kenna Cartwright's husband, John, that she had done it, he refused to believe her. One special hike in Jasper we did was Sulphur Skyline, also an achievement in itself, and we did it 3 times. She loved living downtown and having access to all the services within walking distance, and especially being able to walk to Riverside Park, and she also loved MacArthur Island for its walks. Music. She had a great training in music at school and sung once at the Usher Hall in Edinburgh. She had very eclectic, broad tastes, including, in no particular order, opera, Scottish folk music, and Celtic generally, classical music, world music, klezmer, jazz, particularly Dixieland and some blues, big band, the Beatles, and classic Broadway musicals. She loved singing and was very happy to join the ukulele group in Hawaii as their singer. Freya was also a very good singer, and together they recorded in a disc in Kamloops, which we will hear later. Freya and my mother were here with us once, and we were driving, and Freya and Helen were singing songs from Broadway musicals in the back seat. My mother later reported to my brother Terry, "Those girls can sure sing." Her Scottish heritage was very important to her, and it was a transgression to say that she was English instead of British. The Scottish family thought that over the years she lost some of her accent and sounded more American, but certain Canadians, who shall not be named, accused her of going over to Scotland to top up her accent again. She went to several Robbie Burns suppers in town and at least once gave the all-important toast to the immortal memory. She was a keen solver of puzzles, Sudoku, and crosswords, as long as they were British crosswords. She followed news assiduously, whether here in Canada or in Scotland and Britain generally or around the world. She was a longtime fan of Coronation Street. For those who don't know it, it is a British soap opera which has been running since the early 60s and is broadcast every weekday on CBC. On every video call we had with Kate and Mark, she and they discussed the latest developments, and Mark always tried to give away what was happening next, while Kate tried to shush Mark, as Britain is several episodes ahead. On one of our trips to the UK, Mark and friends Bob and Helen took us to the Coronation Street studio and set near Manchester for a full-scale tour. And there's a photo of Helen at the bar, pumping the bar. In speaking, Helen used a lot of Scots dialect words and sayings and British expressions, and one person mentioned that she was introduced to the Brit term gobsmacked by Helen. Helen also had a number of favorite expressions. The most remembered is, "I'm off for a toes up," for a nap, that is. Others include her granny saying, and pardon my attempt to mimic, "You've got a good Scots tongue in your head, ask," which I might add, didn't work very well in Hungary. And lastly, east-west, Hames best, which we always said on returning home from expeditions. I think you will all know her well enough, but I should sum up her character for those who may not have seen all the sides of her. She almost completed her training as a nurse, but already had in her the caring, compassionate, and supportive traits of a nurse, and she never lost them. She was a friend to many and supported people when they needed help, especially those needing additional support. She was kind-hearted and sensitive to others. She was welcoming. She was adventurous. She was born as or became a leader in so many ways, a leader of her family in Edinburgh and here, and of her community in Kamloops. She was worldly and aware. She aimed to make the world around her a better place. She was an achiever and got a lot done in her lifetime. She had a real sense of humor and wit, and was especially keen on a good limerick. She was courageous with great inner strength. She bore the loss of all her siblings. She handled her own earlier serious health challenges, and then her cancer diagnosis and all the ups and downs of the medical challenges that came along with that. She stuck with our plan to have a holiday in Penticton at the end of October, just 2 weeks before the final turn for the worst in mid-November, and she faced the end with great courage. As a woman, she wasn't busy talking about women's lib, but just got going and did the things large and small that she wanted to do, even though they may not have been things women would have done in the past. She broke ground, and she did it in her own quiet way. She was loving and a lovely person. She was unassuming, but she led a truly remarkable life. We are so fortunate to have had Helen amongst us. She was everything to me, and she will be greatly missed. So that's the tribute to Helen. I would now like to welcome Ailey and Paula to the microphone for a little reading.
When I come to the end of the road and the sun has set for me, I want no rights in a gloom-filled room. Why cry for a soul set free? Ironic. Miss me a little, but not for long, and not with your head bowed low. Remember the love that we once shared. Miss me, but let me go.
For this is a journey we all must take, and each must go alone. It's all a part of the master plan, a step on the road to home. When you are lonely and sick at heart, go to the friends we know. Laugh at the things we used to do. Miss me, but let me go. Thank you.
Thank you, that was lovely. That was really lovely, thank you both. And now I would like to welcome Roberta Kajelson to the microphone.
Thank you, Francis.
I hope that's Jim, Roberta. I hope that's Jim.
Yeah, of course. Helen and I first met through her work on school board and our shared support for the Federal Liberal Party. Our friendship blossomed and grew over 48 years with adventures large and small and happy and sad. I will forever treasure Helen's memory and her unfailing love and support. She was an extremely wise woman with a common sense approach to life. This is one of the many qualities that made her an exceptional elected representative and a good listener for her friends. Her counsel enriched my life in many important ways, including when she traveled to Vancouver General Hospital to hold my hand at my late husband's bedside. As I look out on so many familiar faces, I'm absolutely honored to represent those of you who are also Helen's friends. We all hold dear our special memories of Helen, whether you met her through elected public service or many charitable works, sports activities, supporting the arts, or as a neighbor. I'm sure that you agree that Helen embraced you for who you are and considered you an appreciated friend. Following our remarks today, I hope that you'll please lift a cuppa, as Helen would say, in celebration of a life well lived and a love well shared. The following poem, titled Friendship's Garden, resonates with me, and I hope it will with you too. In the garden of friendships, blossoms bloom in vibrant hues, each petal a memory, each stem a bond that never loosens. Like the roots of an ancient tree, our friendships run deep and strong, weathering storms and seasons, standing tall through right and wrong. Laughter dances like fireflies in the twilight of our days, and tears fall like gentle raindrops when sorrow comes our way. We are woven together like tapestry, threads of love and trust entwined, creating a masterpiece of unity that time cannot unwind. Thank you.
Thank you, Roberta. That too was lovely. I don't think Roberta wants me to mention this, but I would like to acknowledge that at Helen's request, Roberta made all the arrangements for this room, including the decorations and food and beverages, as well as some of the memorabilia, and put a lot of work and thought into the making of this event. Thank you so much, Roberta. It's time now for the refreshments. I don't know if the hall knows, but we'll let them know. And pictures and music. A couple of words on the music, pretty much all of which was chosen by Helen. The first piece that you'll hear is Helen singing with Janet Michael, recorded at our house in October. Janet would have liked to have been with us today, but she is currently on the rock, as she says, Newfoundland, and hopefully is able to join us on the live stream. The next set of 6 is Helen and Freya singing together, recorded professionally at a local studio in 2005. And the one after that is a trio with Ailey, Paula, and Paula, Ailey on bass ukulele. This time also amateurly recorded at our house in October. This is a song, the song is Edelweiss, and it's a song Helen introduced to the ukulele group in Hawaii, because they didn't know it, which is shocking, and they now sing it often. The remainder of the music after that were favorites of Helen and often have stories attached. So that's all for the more formal part of our celebration. Please take a look at the memorabilia table. Quick note, I did mention the picture of Benderloch Station on the train. She wasn't a railway buff, but in the back behind you can see Station House that they had so many lovely summers at. Please also enjoy the pictures and music, chat with friends, and enjoy some food and a drink or two, all to celebrate Helen and her memory. And again, thank you for being here and joining us.
Thank you, Francis.
Thank you. My last duty on the stand is to take the magic wand down to the AV department so that they can play the music, from here to out into the ether.
Speed, bonny boat, like a bird on the wing, onward the sailors cry. Carry the lad that's born to be king, over the sea to sky. Loud the winds howl, loud the waves roar, thunderclaps rend the air. Baffled our foes, stand by the shore, follow they will not dare. Speed, bonny boat, like a bird on the wing, onward the sailors cry. Carry the lad that's born to be king, over the sea to sky. Many's a lad fought on that day, well the claymore did wield. when the night came, silently lay dead on Culloden's field. Speed, bonny boat, like a bird on the wing, onward the sailors cry. Carry the lad that's born to be king, over the sea to sky.
Dumbarton's drums, they sound so bonny, and they remind me o' my Johnny. What fond delight doth steal upon me, when Johnny kneels and kisses me. My love, he is a handsome laddie, and though he is Dumbarton's caddie, someday I'll be a captain's lady, when Johnny tends his fault in me. Dumbarton's drums, they sound so bonny, and they remind me o' my Johnny. Such fond delight doth steal upon me, when Johnny kneels and kisses me. 'Tis he alone that doth delight me, his roving eye, it doth invite me, and when his tender arms enfold me, the blackest night doth turn and flee. Dumbarton's drums, they sound so bonny, and they remind me o' my Johnny. What fond delight doth steal upon me, when Johnny kneels and kisses me. When Johnny kneels and kisses me. The summertime is come, and the leaves are sweetly blooming, and the wild mountain thyme grows around the bloomin' heather. Will ye go, lassie, go, and we'll all go together to pull wild mountain thyme all around the bloomin' heather. Will ye go, lassie, go? I will build my love a bower by yon clear crystal fountain, and on it I will pile all the flowers of the mountain. Will ye go, lassie, go, and we'll all go together to pull wild mountain thyme all around the bloomin' heather. Will ye go, lassie, go? If my true love she were gone, then I'd surely find another, where the wild mountain thyme grows around the bloomin' heather. Will ye go, lassie, go, and we'll all go together to pull wild mountain thyme all around the bloomin' heather. Will ye go, lassie, go? Ye banks and braes, O bonny Doon, how can ye bloom sae fresh and fair? How can ye chant, ye little bird, and I sae weary, fu' o' care? Ye'll break my heart, ye warbling bird, that wanton through the flowery thorn. Ye mind me, O departed that joys departed never to return. Oft hae I roved by bonny Doon to see the rose and woodbine twine, and ilka bird sang o' its love as fondly say did I o' mine. Wi' lichtsome heart I put a rose full sweet upon its thorny tree. But my false lover stole my rose, but he left the thorn wi' me. Ye banks and braes o' bonny Doon, how can ye bloom sae fresh and fair? How can ye chant, ye little bird, and I sae weary, fu' o' care? There me o' Rovano, there me o' Rovani, there me o' Ruo, sad am I without thee. When I'm lonely, dear white heart, black the night or wild the sea, by love's light my foot finds the old pathway to thee. There me o' Rovano, there me o' Rovani, there me o' Roro, sad am I without thee. Thou'rt the music of my heart, harp of joy, O Chroom, O Chree, moon of guidance by night, strength and light, thou'rt to me. There me o' Rovano, there me o' Rovani, there me o' Ruo, sad am I without thee. Love, oh careless love. Love, oh careless love. Love, oh careless love. Oh, see what love has done to me. I used to wear my apron low. I used to wear my apron low. I used to wear my apron low. You'd follow me through rain and snow. But now my apron strings won't bend. But now my apron strings won't bend. But now my apron strings won't pin. You pass my gate, but you won't come in. You pass my door, you pass my gate. You pass my door, you pass my gate. You pass my door, you pass my gate, but you won't get past my 38. How I wish that train would come. How I wish that train would come. How I wish that train would come and take me back where I come from. Oh, you canny shove your granny off a bus. Oh, you canny shove your granny off a bus. Oh, you can't shove your granny, for she's your mammy's mammy. Oh, you can't shove your granny off a bus. You can shove your other granny off a bus. You can shove your other granny off a bus. You can shove your other granny, for she's your father's mammy. Oh, you can shove your other granny off a bus.
Edelweiss, Edelweiss, every morning you greet me, small and white, clean and bright, you look happy to meet me. Blossom of snow, may you bloom and grow, bloom and grow forever. Edelweiss, Edelweiss, bless my homeland forever.
The first time ever I saw your face, I thought the sun rose in your eyes, and the moon and the stars were the gift you gave to the dark and empty skies, my love, to the dark and empty skies. The first time ever I kissed your mouth, I felt the earth move in my hand, like the trembling heart of a captive bird that was there at my command, my love, that was there at my command. The first time ever I lay with you and felt your heart beat over mine, I thought our joy would fill the earth and last till the end of time, my love, and last till the end of time.
I met my love by the gasworks wall, dreamed a dream by the old canal. I kissed my girl by the factory wall. Dirty old town, dirty old town. Clouds are drifting across the moon. Cats are prowling on their beat. Springs a girl from the streets at night. Dirty old town, dirty old town. Heard a siren across the dock. Saw a train set the night on fire. I smelled the spring on the smoky wind. Dirty old town, dirty old town. Make me a big sharp axe of shining steel, tempered in the fire. I'll chop you down, I'll chop you down, like an old dead tree, like an old dead tree. Dirty old town, dirty old town. I met my love by the gasworks wall, dreamed a dream by the old canal. I kissed my girl, I kissed my girl by the factory wall, by the factory wall. Dirty old town, dirty old town, dirty old town, dirty old town. Dirty old town.
O pai hoi, o hele mai o hele mai nā tuahine ai a puhi nui o puhi ali i eu a ole loa pupu pupu hoi Pipi hoi, ua hele mai eu, ua hele mai eu, nā tuahine, ai awai, ai apuhi, nui o puhi, alini eu, a ole loa, o pihi hoi, ua hele mai eu, ua hele mai eu, nā tuahine vai makau, nā ue pani, I ka maka ai ke ole ke la puhi.
Scatterings and fugitives, hooded eyes and weary brows, seek refuge in the night. They are the scatterings of Africa, each uprooted one. Oh, mama, yeah. They're on the road to Bellamanga, where the world began. I love the scatterings of Africa, each and every one. Oh, mama, yeah. In their hearts a burning hunger beneath the copper sun. Rock and roll, bicycle wheel, African song forging steel singing. Magic machine cannot match human being, human being. African ideas, African ideas, make the future clear, make the future clear. They are the scatterings of Africa, each uprooted one. They're on the road to Bellamanga, where the world began. And for the scatterings of Africa, the journey has begun. Future find their hungry eyes beneath the copper sun. Ancient bones from old divide, echoes of the very first cry. Who made me here and why? Beneath the copper sun, my very first beginnings. Beneath the copper sky.
mise be ini akunio wolo ane no same ane bala kakabako wolo ane no same ane bala kakabako balea be ini akune balia mise be ini akunio wolo ane no same ane bala kakabako wolo ane no same ane bala kakabako hey megala le denamo mene 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 Seko meneno amana kakapla minu mana kakapla
Nialai nama akadetele
chan chan, en el mar servían arena, como sacudía el jibe, a chan chan le daba pena. Limpia el camino De Alto Cedro voy para Matané, llego a Puerto, voy para Mayarí. De Alto Cedro voy para Marcané, llego a Puerto, voy para Mayarí.
die a little every time we say goodbye. I wonder why a little, why the gods above me, who must be in the know, think so little of me. They allow you to go. When you're near, there's such an air of spring about it. I can hear a lark somewhere begin to sing about it. There's no love song finer, but how strange the change from major to minor every time we say goodbye. When you're near, there's such an air of spring about it. I can hear a lark somewhere begin to sing about it. There's no love song finer, but how strange the change from major to minor every time we say
I saw you in my dream. We were walking hand in hand on a white sandy beach of Hawaii. We were playing in the sun. We were having so much fun on a white sandy beach of Hawaii. The sound of the ocean soothes my restless soul. Sound of the ocean rocks me all night long. Those hot, long summer days, lying there in the sun on a white sandy beach of Hawaii. The sound of the ocean soothes my restless soul. The sound of the ocean rocks me all night long. We were there in the sun on a white sandy beach.
Nothing could resist my Nancy, just to see her is tale apart. Love but her and love forever. Had we never loved so kindly, had we never loved so blindly, never loved and never parted, we had never been broken hearted.